Part 2, the final dive / what the USSR concealed. DeLon photographs from all sides, frame by frame. Flashes cut through the water. Martin records video in sweeping panoramas, guiding the camera slowly from bow to stern, fixing details, dimensions, shape. Richard examines the superstructure, finds a door. Dogged shut, airtight, impossible to open without tools. Laban signals with a gesture, looking for the hatch. There must be a hatch on the deck, an entrance inside. They swim along the hull, inspect the deck from above, and find it. A hatch, 80 centimeters in diameter, round, steel, open in the forward section. The cover is flung aside, lying on the deck, secured by a chain. As if someone opened it, left, and never closed it. Laban looks at the others, gives a thumbs up. The question, do we go in? Everyone nods. They switch their floodlights to maximum, swim inside one by one. Inside, the darkness is total, cold, dense. The lights pierce about 5 meters ahead. Beyond that, blackness. A narrow corridor, about 1.5 meters wide, 2 meters high. Metal walls, bare, paint peeling in places. The water is murky with suspended particles stirred up by their fin strokes. They swim slowly, one after another. Laban in the lead, followed by DeLon, then Martin. Richard brings up the rear. The corridor leads deep into the ship, turns right, then left. Passageways, intersections, ladders leading down. Cabins on either side, doors open. They swim inside, empty. Bare walls, bunks ripped out, lockers cut away, even bolts unscrewed. Nothing remains. As if someone had methodically scrubbed every compartment clean of the last item. The next cabin, the same. Empty. The third, empty. The engine room is empty. Equipment dismantled. Pipes cut. Wiring torn out. Engines absent. Only the mountings remain. The control room. Empty. The instrument panel cut out. The steering wheel removed. No compass. No charts, no logbook. The ship has been cleansed completely, totally, professionally. As if they wanted to erase any possibility of identification, any clue, any hint of origin, purpose, history. They descend lower, to the next level. Even darker, colder. The lights barely penetrate the gloom. They find a large compartment, about 20 by 30 meters. A hangar, most likely, where planes or helicopters were stored. Now it's empty. Only the floor mounts where the machinery once stood. And in the far corner, on a bulkhead, DeLon notices something. Swims closer, directs his light. The beam catches an inscription. Letters, scratched into the metal with a sharp instrument. Deep, crude, hurried. As if someone decided at the last moment to leave a message. The letters are German, Gothic script. A single word, large, 7 letters. Eingang. Entrance. DeLon photographs the inscription in close-up. 3 shots from different angles. Martin films it. Laban writes in his notepad, inscription found, Eingang. German, translates as entrance. His hand trembles, the letters blur. Richard shines his light around the inscription, searching for anything else. But nothing. Only this word. Lonely, enigmatic, frightening. Eingang. Entrance. Entrance to where? Into the ship, but that's obvious. Why write it? An entrance into something else. An entrance to some place, a base, a territory, a system, a passage. Laban signals, time. We need to surface, air is running out. 40 minutes underwater. A reserve is needed for the ascent. They turn around, swim back, exit through the hatch onto the deck, slowly rise towards the surface, observing decompression stops. 3 minutes at 15 meters, 5 minutes at 5 meters, allowing the body to adapt to the pressure change. They surface next to the Calypso, climb aboard via the gangway. Cousteau waits on deck, hands in pockets, face tense. Laban removes his mask, breathes heavily. The cold is draining. He speaks in a fragmented way. Captain, it's an aircraft carrier. White, intact, undamaged. Deliberately scuttled. Inside, everything's been cleaned out, absolutely everything. No identifying marks. Only one inscription inside, in German, Eingang. It means entrance. Cousteau listens in silence. His face is stone, expressing nothing, no emotion. Only his eyes move, looking from Laban to the others, then out to sea. He is silent for 10 seconds. Then he says in an even voice, "Show me the photographs once they're developed." And the video footage, as soon as it's processed. He turns, goes to his cabin, closes the door. 5 minutes later, he emerges onto the bridge, picks up a secure radio telephone, tunes to a frequency, transmits the coordinates, a brief description of the object, no details, in English. To whom he is transmitting, the crew does not know. The frequency is encrypted. The next day, November 13th, the Calypso is again positioned above the aircraft carrier. The divers descend a second time, examine it in detail, film even more, take precise measurements. They search for anything else, but find only emptiness. White walls, gutted interiors, the lone inscription Eingang on the bulkhead. Cousteau himself makes one dive, on November 14th, accompanied by Laban underwater for 25 minutes. He descends inside the ship, stands for a long time before the inscription, looks, photographs it himself with a personal camera. Then he inspects the hangar, corridors, engine room. He surfaces in silence. His face is pale, hands clenched into fists. On deck, he removes his aqualung, silently goes to his cabin, doesn't answer questions. An hour later, he emerges, gives a terse order. We're packing up. We're leaving this place. Course north, for home. The Calypso sets a course north. The expedition ends prematurely. Instead of 3 months of work in Antarctica, they spend 3 weeks. February 1973. The vessel returns to France, the port of Marseille. On the quay wait 3 men in dark suits, no ties, with identification from the General Directorate for Internal Security of France. French intelligence. They come aboard, show documents, speak with the captain. Then they gather the entire crew in the mess hall. The senior man speaks in an official tone. Everything you saw in Antarctica is a matter of state interest. Disclosure of information is punishable by law. Each of you will sign non-disclosure agreements for a period of 75 years, until 2048. Refusal to sign entails criminal prosecution. Any questions? There are no questions. Everyone signs. All film is confiscated. All photographs, all video recordings, everything that was filmed underwater is packed into metal containers and taken away. March 1973. The entire crew of the Calypso is dismissed. All 23 people, including the 4 divers who descended to the aircraft carrier. Cousteau recruits a new crew. The old sailors disperse to different cities, lose contact with each other, remain silent for 20-30 years. Only the engineer André Laban, years later, decides to speak. He gives an interview to a German journalist, researcher of anomalous phenomena Hartwig Hausdorff. The interview is published in a low-circulation book, Secrets of Polar Expeditions, a print run of 500 copies. The mainstream press ignores it. Official historians refuse to comment, call it fabrication. Then Laban disappears. In 2005, he leaves France for an unknown destination, changes his name, address. Relatives say he went to South America, but where exactly, they don't know. No one sees or hears from him again. Photographer Pierre Delon remains silent for a long time. But in 2003, upon learning he has lung cancer, stage 4, 3 months left, he gives one interview to a local Marseille newspaper. He talks about the white aircraft carrier, the inscription Eingang, Cousteau's silence, the seizure of the film, the dismissal of the crew. 3 weeks after publication, he dies in St. Joseph Hospital. Cameraman Jacques Martin dies in a car accident in 1991. His car flew off a bridge into the Ran River in Lyon. The truck driver who rear-ended him survived. Said Martin's car braked sharply for no reason. Martin drowned, strapped in by his seatbelt, unable to get out. Technician Claude Richard is still alive as of 2025, 93 years old. Lives in a retirement home in Lyon. To questions about the 72 expedition, he answers the same way. I don't remember, I'm old, my memory is bad, I've forgotten everything. The archives of the Calypso expedition to Antarctica in 1972 are classified. Declassification date, 2048. 75 years, just like the agreements the crew signed. The white aircraft carrier remains lying on the bottom at a depth of 42 meters, at coordinates 72 degrees 38 minutes south, 103 degrees 21 minutes west. Without a name, without a history, without an explanation. With a single inscription inside. Eingang. Entrance. Cousteau saw this inscription on November 14, 1972. He stood before it for 20 minutes, photographed it with his personal camera. He surfaced pale. And 3 months later, he attempted to get permission for an expedition. Not to the Pacific, not to the Atlantic, not to the Mediterranean, but to the USSR, to Lake Baikal. To where, 13 years before the discovery of the white aircraft carrier, a Soviet destroyer detected an object moving at a depth of 900 meters at a speed of 80 kilometers per hour. And Seaman Gennady Antonov, who saw it on the screen, vanished without a trace 6 months later and was declared a deserter. To understand what Jacques-Yves Cousteau was looking for on Baikal in 1996, let's go back 37 years. Not to Antarctica, not to the white aircraft carrier with the German inscription, but to Siberia. To the lake the Buryats call Baigal Dalai, the sacred sea. A place of power. The border between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Gates through which spirits come and go. Baikal is not just a lake. It is an anomaly of nature, a geological puzzle, an object that should not exist in such a form, but does. The deepest lake on planet Earth. Maximum depth, 1,642 meters. Measured by the USSR Academy of Sciences in 1974, confirmed by international expeditions. That is deeper than the height of 5 Eiffel Towers stacked on top of each other. Deeper than the average continental shelf of the world's oceans. It's almost twice the height of the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, turned upside down. The lake's length is 636 kilometers from northeast to southwest. Width up to 79 kilometers. Surface area, 31,722 kilometers. That's larger than Belgium or Armenia. Water volume, 23,615 kilometers. That is 19% of all the fresh water reserves on the planet, more than in all 5 Great Lakes of North America combined. But the strangest thing is not the size or the volume. The strangest thing is its age and the depth of its bottom. Baikal is 2,530 million years old. It is the oldest lake on Earth. Ordinary lakes live 1,000–15,000 years at most, then silt up, become overgrown, turn into swamps, die, disappear. Baikal does not age, does not silt up. On the contrary, it becomes deeper, expands. The rift in the Earth's crust grows, the bottom subsides by 2 centimeters per year. In millions of years, Baikal will become an ocean, Siberia will separate from Asia, the continent will split in half. And the lake's bottom lies at 1,187 meters below sea level. If Baikal were drained, a pit deeper than the Dead Sea would remain, deeper than the lowest point of land on the planet. Baikal is not a lake. It is a rift, a tectonic fissure, a rift zone. The Earth is pulling apart, the crust is breaking, the mantle is rising. Hidden under the water are mountains, canyons, abysses, underwater ridges as high as the Alps, valleys kilometers wide. An unexplored world. And this is a strategic object of the USSR. A closed territory, a restricted zone. Military bases on the shores, radars, patrols. Off-limits areas for civilian vessels. Underwater testing of secret equipment, a training ground for combat swimmers, training for submarine crews in fresh water before deployment to the ocean. And there, things happen that official science cannot explain, and the military prefers not to discuss. July 1959. 14 years after victory in the Great Patriotic War, 2 years after the launch of the first satellite. At the height of the space race and the arms race, the USSR is at the peak of its technological rise. Confidence in its strength, faith in science. A classified military expedition to Baikal, codename Baikal 1. Classification level, top secret. Of special importance. Leader, Rear Admiral Pyotr Alexeyevich Grishanov, 52, war veteran, commanded a destroyer in the Baltic, sank 2 German transports, awarded the Order of the Red Banner. Experienced, tough, doesn't believe in mysticism, believes in instruments and facts. The vessel, a SEM Stremetal NYY, 7 Stremetalny, class destroyer, refitted for scientific work. On board, echo sounders, sonars, deep-sea trawls, bathymeters. Crew, 40 men. Duration, 3 months. Official task, detailed mapping of the lake bottom for possible deployment of submarines in case of war. Baikal as a backup base, protected from enemy aviation and navy. The depth allows it. Fresh water provides stealth. Acoustics differ from seawater, making detection more difficult. July 15, 1959. 3:45 in the morning, dawn. Gray sky, fog over the water. Air temperature plus 12 degrees Celsius. Coordinates, 53 degree 15 foot 0. 2 inch north, 108 degrees 3 minutes 33 seconds east. Central part of the lake. Depth under the keel, 920 meters. The destroyer moves slowly, speed 4 knots. The echo sounder works continuously, scans the bottom, records the relief onto paper tape. The watchkeeper, Seaman First Class Gennady Stepanovich Antonov, 23, conscript from Irkutsk, serving for 6 months, sits before the echo sounder screen in a stuffy cabin, watches the glowing lines. Monotonous work, he feels sleepy. 3:51. A signal appears on the screen. A moving object. Large. Depth, 920 meters. Distance from the ship, 1.2 kilometers. Size, 15-20 meters long. Moving parallel to the destroyer. Speed. Antonov looks at the scale, doesn't believe his eyes, checks the instrument. The instrument is working. Speed, 80 kilometers per hour. 80 kilometers per hour at a depth of 920 meters. Impossible. Soviet Project 613 submarines dive to a maximum of 300 meters, underwater speed, 20-25 kilometers per hour. American Skipjack-class subs, depth 300 meters, speed 30 kilometers per hour. These are the records, the limits of 1959 technology. And here, 920 meters and 80 kilometers per hour. Antonov presses a button, calls the senior officer. Senior Lieutenant Viktor Nikolaevich Sobolev, 32, runs in. Looks at the screen, turns pale, runs to the bridge, reports to Rear Admiral Grishinov. Grishinov comes down, looks at the screen, frowns, says nothing, checks the instrument calibration. The instrument is fine. Orders a recheck with another echo sounder. The second instrument shows the same thing. Object, 920 meters, 80 kilometers per hour. The object is moving parallel to the destroyer. Distance stable, 1.2 kilometers. Speed constant. Course coincides with the ship's course. As if it's observing, escorting, studying. 5 minutes pass, 10, 15. The object doesn't change parameters. Grishinov stands silently, hands behind his back, face like stone, watches the screen, thinks. 4:08. The object sharply changes course, turns 90 degrees, heads straight for the destroyer. Speed increases to 100 kilometers per hour. The distance closes rapidly. A kilometer, 900 meters, 800, 700, 600, 500, 400, 300. Grishinov shouts sharply, raising his voice for the first time during the watch. Full ahead. Hard right rudder, 90 degrees, now. The helmsman spins the wheel, the engine telegraph rings, the engines roar. The destroyer turns, gains speed, veers to starboard. The object stops sharply, instantly, without braking, right under the ship. Depth, 900 meters, motionless. 30 seconds of absolute immobility. Silence in the bridge. Everyone watches the screen, breathes quietly. Then the object plunges sharply downward, vertically, like a falling stone. Depth, 1,100 meters, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400. The signal weakens, disappears. Contact lost. No signal. It's gone. Grishinov stands motionless. His hands are trembling, sweat on his forehead, though it's cold in the bridge. He is silent for a minute. Then quietly, very quietly, so only the watch officer can hear, he asks. Did you record it? Midshipman Oleg Viktorovich Krulov, 29, nods. Recorded, Comrade Rear Admiral. The tape is intact, all data fixed. Not a word to anyone. That's an order. Grishinov goes up to the radio room, tunes to a secure frequency, contacts the command of the Pacific Fleet in Vladivostok, reports. Receives an order, cease operation immediately, return to base. Seal the echo sounder tapes, forbid the crew to discuss the incident. The destroyer turns, heads for shore. Expedition, Baikal 1 ends prematurely. The crew disembarks at the Maist-Tolsty base. People arrive from Moscow, civilians, show KGB IDs, the USSR Committee for State Security, 2nd Chief Directorate, Military Counterintelligence. All crew members sign non-disclosure agreements regarding state secrets for a period of 75 years, until 2034. The echo sounder tapes are confiscated, packed into metal containers, taken to Moscow. September 1959. 2 months after the incident, Senior Lieutenant Viktor Nikolaevich Sobolev, 32, dies during exercises in the Sea of Japan. Fell overboard from a destroyer at night. Body not found. Official cause, accident, violation of safety regulations. January 1960. 6 months later, Seaman Gennady Stepanovich Antonov goes missing without a trace in Vladivostok while on leave. Declared a deserter. The search yields no results. His family receives notice of the forfeiture of pension rights. May 1960. Midshipman Oleg Viktorovich Krulov dies in a car accident near Khabarovsk. The car veered off the road into a river, he drowned. The truck driver behind said the car suddenly swerved left for no reason. All three were present in the bridge at the moment of contact with the object. All three saw the screen, all three knew the details. All three dead within 11 months. Coincidence? 1. 44 years after the incident, Seaman Second Class Viktor Nikolaevich Maslov, 78, who was on deck during the incident, didn't see the screen, heard the shouts from the bridge, gives an interview to the newspaper, Vostokno-Sibirskaya Pravda. Print run 3,000 copies. He talks about the object, the speed of 80 kilometers per hour, the depth of 900 meters, about his 3 dead comrades. Says outright, those were not accidents. That was a cleanup of witnesses. We were warned to keep silent. The 3 who saw the most were removed. A month after publication, Maslov is found dead in his apartment in Irkutsk. Diagnosis: myocardial infarction. Relatives tell journalists, the day before, 2 men in dark suits came to see him. The conversation was behind a closed door. After they left, Maslov was pale, frightened, nervous. He quietly told his wife, "I shouldn't have given that interview. Shouldn't have. Should have kept quiet, like everyone else." The archive of Expedition Baikal 1 is classified. The secrecy classification has not been lifted. Declassification date, 2029, 70 years from the time of the expedition. But that was only the first signal. The first contact. The first warning. After that, Baikal was silent for 23 years. Echo sounders worked, depths were measured, maps were drawn. All quiet, all calm. And then came February 1982. End of Part 2.